Okay, we're picking up where we left off in our last video. We have our ball modeled in the middle of our scene. We had originally had it set at the end of our buildings, but if you notice when we moved our hierarchy and affected our object and pivot point, it recentered this right into the middle of our scene. What we want to do is we're going to model this and kind of arrange this in two viewports here. If I go over to this menu bar over here, I can click on this. Our standard viewport layout when we first open up 3ds Max is this 4-window layout. That's what we have right now, and I can reset that by clicking on here. Okay, so this is our quad 4 view. That's going to be on your test, at least for now. I'm keeping that. But if I want to model, I can do this as a column 1 and column 2 view. Now it sets it up by default. I like this top view, but I'm going to switch out of wireframe into default shading. That lets me see my buildings a little easier. And then I want to change this view from front. I'm going to move this and change this from front to perspective so that we can see how that was. Now this is also wireframe, so I'm going to put this back at as my default shading as well. I want to tip this down so I kind of can see this rolling down the street here. And I'm going to swing this around, okay, and find a view that I like that I can have so that I can make it look like the ball is rolling towards me. So I think this is going to be my scene that I want the ball to roll towards me. It's going to come from the sky, fall, and roll towards me, and then kind of off the screen here. So how do we do that? Okay, we're practicing setting up our scene here a little bit. We're going to move it on our X and our Y, but we need to animate this a little bit. So basically the way that animation works is I can play my animation right now. I hit play and it shows the timeline is scrubbing across the bottom. And right now it has by default 100 separate pictures on this scene. So each picture that we have movement in, it's going to render that as a separate picture and have to take and basically generate and save a different picture of that scene one by one by one. Okay, so if we do that 100 times, it's probably going to take 10 seconds per picture. So we're looking at quite a few minutes to do that. So we're going to animate this in a short amount of time and not use our whole timeline here. So let's find our beginning place in the space. Okay, so right now we have this set up in our scene here, and we want to bring this up and over. So I'm going to zoom out, okay? And we're going to bring this up and up to about above the buildings here. So I want to turn on my auto key, and what this is going to do, this is going to establish our movement and animate it based off of whatever we're positioning in the scene. So I have my slide bar set at 0 out of 100, and I'm going to position the ball with auto key, and at scene 0 we're going to tell it where to start. Okay, so I grab my move tool, which is the W on the keyboard, or I can click here. I have the ball selected, and I want to grab this blue arrow, and just the blue one. Okay, if I click on the box, it's going to slide everything around. I don't want that. I want to click just on the blue arrow, and I want to slide it up, straight up, okay, and high off the scene here. Now I have my purple and my green box this way. So I want to have this start, and I want to slide this back so it kind of falls towards me from the 0. Okay, so there it is there. What happened is it locked it down onto the grid when I moved it in this view. It brought it back down. So I'm going to have to remove it with the Z key, okay, and put it back up. Now that's not going to center anything, So there we want it basically off screen, and that is our starting position. So at 0, we're going to have it start high in the sky. Now we want to go to our, let's put it at about 10. Okay. And we're going to have it fall from here down. Where are we on the scene here? Here's our ball off of the scene. Okay. So let's do from, do we want 10 or do we want 15? Let's slide it just to the middle of our scene. We'll put it at 15. Okay. We're going to have the ball fall onto the street right about here. So I'm going to move the ball over to here, and that should lock it. By moving it in this top view, it brought it down and locked it down onto the plane, my XYZ coordinate. If it doesn't, you can grab your Z tool here and bring it down. Okay. One thing we want to do though is we want to make sure our Z, okay, if I undo that and I put this Z back up, you're going to notice that my Z goes, oh, this is my X. Let's just set this at 0. Oh, I know what's happening is so this will tell you where you're at in the scene, but it's basically telling you how much you move it depending on whether you're in absolute mode or if you are in offset mode. Let's just ignore that for a minute. At 15, we just want it to hit the bottom of the road here, and then we want to slide this over to 30, and we want to drag this off of the scene here. All right, now let's hit play and see how this works. Okay, so at 15, it rolls down and forward. Now, this is less melodramatic. We're going to cut all of these off of the scene, so that way we only have to render about 30 windows here, 30 views. I'm going to zoom in and get a view between the building here, and I'm going to tip this down a little bit and pan up. Okay, so now if you notice, let's see, we don't have the ball appear until, let's have this stop here. We don't have the ball appear until about 5. So if we take this key, we can grab the move tool and we can click on this key, and we should be able to slide it over here, and that will speed things up where the ball falls and slow things down where the ball's on the road. Okay, we can do that by moving our keys around a little bit because we don't need that space. Let's try it a little bit more. It won't let us do it while it's running, so I pause my animation. I grab my move tool again, make sure it's still on, and I can drag this back to maybe the 7. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so the ball falls fast and then gives me a little bit more time for rolling down the street. All right, so this is a pretty good view. I'm going to set this as my final view to make my little mini movie. And we will come back in the last video of this series of using our user interface and figure out how to render this using our render tools. Thanks for joining me in today's video, and we will see you in the next one. Keep designing.